Good morning. Welcome to the King's Report News Hour, the 24th day. It's 24th day of the 6th month, 16th year of Changi. Tim Milber sitting in for the Second King of China, Chang Jing-un. We've got some stuff to cover today. We'll go through our usual routine, but then we'll be talking about the law enforcement authorities today raided a number of family-fed locations in South Korea today. And they confiscated a bunch of stuff, apparently, documents of stuff. But anyway, we will be getting to that. Of course, as you know, they previously booked Hak Ja-han, booked meaning that they initiated a criminal investigation against her. And it's an investigation phase, and they are trying to see if they can build enough evidence to actually bring a criminal case to court. And so today's raids were in connection with that effort to build a criminal case, it appears. All right, but all that later on in this broadcast. So don't go away, as they say. Okay, first of all, let's take a tour around the kingdom. God's kingdom today, and right now in Chungcheon, Tennessee, it is 70 degrees, mostly sunny. A couple of thunderstorms around, some severe with damaging winds and hail, mainly early, cloudy and humid. Watch for flash flooding. Yes, they're in Chungcheon, Tennessee, so please watch out for that. High of 86 tonight, a low of 70, an evening thunderstorm in parts of the area, otherwise cloudy and, guess what? Yes, humid. And then in father's hometown of Cheongju, North Pyongan Province, and what is today North Korea. That can change. Anyway, currently sunny and 82 degrees, becoming cloudy with a thunderstorm late tonight, getting down to 71. Tomorrow, high of 81, a brief morning shower or two, otherwise humid, intervals of clouds and sunshine. Liberty Rock RV Park and Campground in Limestone County, Texas, currently 71 and cloudy. And today, mostly sunny, high of 94. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low of 75. And it says humid tomorrow. I guess it's not humid now. Okay. Humid tomorrow to tomorrow night. Well, okay. Anyway, let's see. Suncheon Palace in Korea, currently 78, cloudy, and it's some rain falling there. And warm and humid with rain tonight, becoming heavy at times, low of 77. Tomorrow, humid with considerable clouds, a couple of morning thunderstorms, followed by a little rain in the afternoon, 82. Gunma Palaces in Japan, 86, mostly cloudy right now, overcast tonight, low of 73. Tomorrow, hot, humid clouds, followed by a brightening sky. And a high tomorrow of 91. Okay. And then in Ilan, Taiwan, currently it is raining. In fact, it is raining quite a bit right now, and rather heavy, I think, heavily. And it is 85 degrees with heavy rain, cloudy and windy, a couple of evening thunderstorms tonight, followed by heavy showers late, low of 79. Tomorrow, very windy, showers in the morning, otherwise cloudy, high of 80. High of 80. So it's going to cool down quite a bit there. Okay, all right. All right, then let's go to Father's Word. Let's see here. We're in the book on Earthly Life in the Spirit World. We're at the end of chapter 3. And we're in the section 4.8. Chapter 3, section 4.8. And the subtitle here is Possession of the Spirit World or in the Spirit World. I'm not sure. We'll have to read the content to see which is the correct translation. Could be either. When you look at the great universe, very timely. When you look at the great universe, there are probably gem stars, Father calls them, precious stone stars, such as precious stones, such as diamonds. And actually, I was watching a YouTube short just yesterday, actually, about this about this. I guess it's an asteroid, or no? Oh no, they call it a dead sun, perhaps. But anyway, let me show it to you. It's Psyche 16, right? Yeah, Psyche 16. And actually, that's what it is. It's a. I can show it to you. Okay, I have it on Wikipedia. Okay. Yes. Let me show this to you. You know, the police raid on Family Federation can wait. This is more interesting. Okay. 16 Psyche is a large M-type asteroid which was discovered by Italian astronomer on 17 March 1852 and named after the Greek goddess Psyche. And okay, all right. Yeah, but where's the important stuff here? Okay, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Where's this? Okay, here we are. The bulk density of Psyche places constraints on its overall composition. The iron and nickel found in most iron meteorites has a bulk. If Psyche were the remnant, several observers have reported the presence of silicate minerals on the surface of Psyche and showed evidence of hydroxyl ions on the asteroid that may suggest the presence of hydrated silicates. It's thought to have formed under dry conditions without the presence of water. The hydroxyl may have reached Psyche via past impacts. But anyway, it's supposed to be an incredible, just a. It's supposed to be just like precious metals, basically. And someone was saying that if it were to come to Earth, the economy on Earth would collapse because gold and diamonds and silver and all that kind of stuff would become so prevalent that they would have no marketable value because everyone would have them. You know, if everybody spread out, you could some give. I have to be careful about how I move my arms. Apparently, I lost my camera. Okay. So apparently you can give people more than $1 billion. Everybody, you get $1 billion, you get $1 billion, you get $1 billion. And of course, if that happens, then money has no meaning. Okay. If everybody has $1 billion, then homes will cost what, $10 billion, right? So, well, they say that money will have no meaning, but scientists don't understand economics apparently because even in that situation, money would have meaning because people need something for a store of value. They need some unit of account and so forth. And so there will be some form of money, but probably won't be gold since it is to be money, something has to be relatively scarce. And gold is relatively scarce. Okay. The amount of gold above the ground of Earth increases annually by something like 2 or 3%. So it's relatively scarce, right? So anyway, Father mentioned that today, so I thought I would bring that up. I know. And I thought of him when I read that, or when I saw that YouTube video on Psyche 16, and sure enough, he gave me that quote today. Praise God. All right, now. Yes. So, right, let's get to the serious stuff. Okay, here we go. Okay, so, well, first let me sort of summarize the situation for you, then we'll get into the details. According to various news reports today in South Korea, domestic reports, the law enforcement authorities raided at least 3 Family Federation locations today, starting at 7 a.m., which is about 13 hours ago. And they were at the Chongpyong Palace, both of them. And I'm including that as one, right? And they went into Hak Ja Han's personal room, apparently, and dug around to see what they could find there. And they also went to the headquarters in Yongsan, near Seoul Station. And also they went to the Doan building in Mapo, and some of you know where that is. And they sort of simultaneously executed these search warrants against those places. And they, I know these search warrants against celebrities, shall we call them, or well-known figures. There's an aspect of theater to them. They go in, and then they come out with these many cardboard boxes, right? And you don't know what's in them, and they may be empty. They may be empty, but most likely not. I'm sure they came out with something, and we'll be hearing more about that as the time goes on. I'm sure. One report said that they found what the report termed as a secret room, where they went in and they found a whole bunch of cash, dollars, yen, won. They found a lot of jewelry and also some expensive designer bags and other items and stuff like that. But the report said that the police probably did not confiscate those items because that would require an additional legal procedures before they could actually confiscate that kind of thing. But anyway, they did. I imagine they inventoried what was there. Of course, this whole thing is coming about because there is allegation that a former high executive, all right, and the media is always calling him the former head of world missions, and I'm saying, wait a second, no, I am what world missions director, right? But he's the world missions director. He's the evil me, I guess. Let's call him that. He's the evil me, I guess, by the grace of God. Anyway, I wouldn't call myself good, but anyway, yeah, he's Satan's version of me, I guess. Anyway, the allegation is that he attempted to bribe the first lady with a Chanel bag and some other stuff, I think some jewelry. And the Family Federation is saying that, oh, no, he did that on his own. And so today's search warrants, I think, were designed to see if that's actually true, to, see whether this was actually on his own or whether he was instructed by Hak Ja Han to make those bribes. And the bribes were an attempt to pursue various interests of the Family Federation in Korea and also in other countries, particularly, apparently they had something going on in Cambodia. Anyway, let's take a look at the actual story on Yonhap here, okay? And so Special Counsel Ray, I have to share this with you, don't I? Okay. Special Counsel Ray's Unification Church and probe into ex-First Lady. Special Counsel Min Jung-ki's team investigating various allegations involving former First Lady Kim Kon-hee on Friday, raided the Unification Church's facilities, and officials linked to her alleged acceptance of luxury gifts from the religious group 3 years ago. The team sent prosecutors and investigators to the church's international headquarters in Gapyeong, 55 kilometers, that would be what we know as Chongpyeong, 55 kilometers northeast of Seoul, and its Seoul headquarters in the Yongsan district in the morning to secure documents and computer files related to the suspected delivery of gifts to Kim. And it looks like maybe this article does not include the raid on the Doan building in Mapo, but I have other articles that say that that was also part of the raid. They also searched the residences of Unification Church leader Hak Ja Han, all right, Han Hak Ja, the residences. They went in. Actually, she has an apartment, of course. I guess you would call it, or living quarters within the palace there, and they went in there and dug around there. And a high-ranking church official at the center of the alleged gift scandal involving Kim. So that high-ranking church official is, this, well, they mentioned in the next paragraph. The special counsel has been investigating the allegations that Kim received a diamond, that Kim is the first lady, a diamond necklace and an expensive bag from the high-ranking Unification Church official through a shaman, and the shaman is not a Unification Church member, between April and August of 2022, soon after Yoon Suk-yeol's election as president in March of the same year. The church official reportedly demanded some business favors from the Yoon government in return for the alleged gifts. The special counsel raided the office of the shaman named Chun Sung-bae, or Kwon Jin. Earlier this week, Chun has said he received the gifts from the Unification Church official, but he lost them, or his dog ate them, or something. Had an unfortunate boating accident. Anyway, he said he lost them. Okay. And of course, out of 50 million population of Korea, I'm pretty sure no one believes that. All right. All right. Oh, okay. That's all there is. Okay. All right. That's all there is. Okay. So that's kind of a short article on the situation today. So these search warrants were executed about 13 hours ago in Korea today. As an observer of South Korean sort of stuff for a number of years, it has been my experience that when the police, first of all, when the police book you, like they have Hak Ja Han already, when they book you, they've already got you. Okay, the booking is just a formality, and also when they execute a search warrant against you, that's also kind of formality. Especially in this case, I mean, they sent buses of riot police because they were concerned that Unification Church members would try to block the law enforcement authorities from going in, and sure enough, apparently there was, according to one television report, there was a summer workshop going on in Chungkyong, and then the participants in that summer workshop were given instructions to gather at the palace and use their bodies if necessary, according to the report, use their bodies if necessary in order to prevent the law enforcement authorities from entering. But the authorities were, anticipating that, and they brought the riot police along with them. And, the Family Federation has not really trained their people in the skills that may be necessary or may come in handy in these types of situations. And so the riot police made pretty short order of the people who had gathered there, and the law enforcement authorities were actually able to enter the building without significant resistance. Anyway, yes, I'm trying to pick my words carefully right now. All right. So anyway, generally what happens after this is that probably a warrant of a detention will be drawn up by the law enforcement authorities, by the prosecutor's office, and submitted to a court. And then the court will examine that warrant and decide whether or not to issue a warrant for her arrest or for her detention. A warrant for detention actually is what it's called. And right now she is not detained. I don't know where she is. There is no report that she was present for today's search in any locations. But I think we do know that she is in South Korea somewhere. She is the government has issued an order that she may not leave the country. So unless she was somehow smuggled out on a fishing boat or something like that, she's in the country somewhere. So we shall see. We shall see. I wouldn't put it past them, to smuggle her out like that. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That would be a difficult thing. To where? I mean, it's one thing to smuggle her out, but then what are you going to do? You're going to smuggle her into Japan? There's risk on both sides. And if you get caught, that would be very, very bad, wouldn't it? Anyway, so I'm sure I feel 99.9% certain that she is somewhere in South Korea. And and I'm sure the authorities know exactly where she is. And so if the court approves a warrant for arrest or detention, they call it warrant for detention, then I'm sure they will go and pick her up for wherever she is. And, the Family Federation members, bless their brainwashed hearts, I'm sure they will offer some form of resistance or protest, but the riot police will be there, and I'm sure they will make pretty short order of them once again. All right, enough of that. Okay, I will keep you updated as more information comes in. Okay. What else is going on today, right? Let's take a look at, okay. It's summertime. It's summertime. Okay. And Stephen Colbert is being canceled in 2026. So apparently he still has a year to do his thing there, do his really left-wing garbage there. And let's see here. Dr. Marty Makary reveals how he's transforming the FDA. Must be really, really slow day. Okay, yes. All right, that's about all I could see on the Epic Times. And on Breitbart, the Epstein thing, somehow, it's unfortunate that the Epstein thing has become such an issue during a time of year when there's basically nothing else going on. And if this were in the spring or the autumn, when there's a bunch of other stuff going on, I think it would not be quite an issue. But Trump, I think his lack of political experience is showing again, and he's not handling this situation very well. So, at one point he says, "Who cares about Epstein? Who cares about that?" Well, journalists care. That's for one thing. I mean, they've got nothing else to write about. So now, Wall Street Journal has done a hit piece on him with regards to this. So he's going to sue the Wall Street Journal, and also he calls for the release of all pertinent grand jury testimony in the Epstein case after that Wall Street Journal hit piece. And he says the scam should end right now. Bondi ready to move the court tomorrow. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with this. All right. Does tomorrow mean today? Probably, right? Let's see here. Writing on his Truth Social account, the president called the Epstein controversy a scam perpetuated by Democrats. Well, yeah, I mean, sure. They're grasping at straws right now. Okay. And this is not a straw. This is at least a good sized branch. Okay, so of course they're going to promote this, perpetuate it as long as they can into September if they can, based on the ridiculous amount of publicity given to Jeffrey Epstein. I have asked Attorney General Pam Bondi to produce any and all pertinent grand jury testimony subject to court approval. This scam perpetuated by the Democrats should end right now, he wrote. And Bondi said in response, President Trump, we are ready to move the court tomorrow to unseal the grand jury transcripts. And I assume that this would be today. I think at 10:09 a.m., I think that's my time here in Korea. So it'll be 9 p.m. Yesterday. Okay. On Thursday, the Wall Street Journal claimed the existence of a letter allegedly bearing the president's name dated 2003, described as featuring several lines of typewritten text surrounded by the outline of a naked woman sketched in marker, per Newsweek. They did not produce the original letter, nor specify that it had confirmed its authenticity. Right, of course. Uh, all right. Well, he's going to sue them, and he may very well win. And we'll see what happens. Okay. MAGA world rallies behind Trump. Actually, I was checking the presidential daily poll, and we saw yesterday that he had sort of tied his previous low point since inauguration at 47, and today he's up 2 points at 49. So maybe MAGA is beginning to rally around him. Okay, and also the approval rating index was I think -10 yesterday. It's -7 today. So perhaps some of the MAGA are beginning to rally behind him. Yes. Okay. All right, let's see here. What else is going on besides that? Okay. Lindsey Graham, primary challenger. We have a chance to knock off one of the vipers of the Senate. Lindsey Graham is pretty powerful. I don't know if they're going to succeed. Okay, anyway, see. And Planned Parenthood CEO. We deliver life-affirming care. Wait a second, what? I thought your business was killing babies. Life-affirming care. Yes, well, they left is always changing the meaning of words, so maybe life now means death. Anyway, cutting our funding is unconstitutional because it's due to U.S. supporting and to us, I'm sorry, not U.S., to us supporting and providing abortion. So I'm sure they would go to court. And I think already they've gone to court and they've got a judge to suspend the order that would not pay them. And I think, at least for now, they are getting paid, I think. All right. And then the case, Tom Homan, ICE protects us. Cops should be required to help ICE. They should be, yes, I agree. And I want to say again that I don't necessarily approve of everything that ICE is going on. My focus would be on the millions of people that Biden let in, but they are getting those people, but they're also deporting people who have been in the United States legally with green cards for decades, and for misdemeanors and for misdemeanor crimes, and they may get away with that legally. But in my opinion, if someone is paying taxes, especially Social Security taxes, don't kick them out. We need them. We need more people to be paying taxes, right? If they don't pay, then the rest of us are going to have to pay. And President Trump, he's famous for liking Diet Coke, and now he's managed to switch the formula for Coca-Cola in the United States. They're going to be using now corn syrup, or what is it, corn syrup switch? Anyway, they're going to change the formula now in the U.S. Yeah. Let's see here. Butler shooting a cascade of failures. Yes, we know that for certain. And Mexican president may sue ICE over farm worker who died during immigration raid. That'd be interesting if the government of Mexico sues the government of the United States, even ICE, which is a branch of the government of the United States, over something like that. That would be interesting. I don't know how that works legally. Okay. And they use Medicaid data to help ICE find migrants. And Senator Bernie Moreno, Trump is the peace president and should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, I think the value of the Nobel Peace Prize has gone down quite a bit over the past few decades, especially since it was given to Biden, who, after receiving the prize, went on to start 3 new wars and expand the U.S. involvement in 4 that he inherited. So, those are the people who get the Nobel Peace Prize. They don't care how many wars you start or how many wars you end. They just want you to fit their leftist narrative, which Obama did, and Trump does not. And let's see here, Netanyahu IDF expressed regret after Gaza church hit by shell fragment. Okay. And Senator Rich continues hold on F-35 delivery to Turkey despite Erdogan's meeting with Trump. NATO warns of enduring threat to Russia aligning with China. I certainly agree with that. The newly appointed Supreme Allied Commander of Europe says he is moving as quickly as possible and sending new weapons to Ukraine as ordered by President Donald Trump, and warns preparations must be made for Russia supporting China in the feared future invasion of Taiwan. Yeah, I mean, China, I think, will ask for and demand, actually, favor in return after supporting Russia's effort in Ukraine. And yes, Russia, perhaps North Korea as well, will be supporting China, I'm sure, in this effort. I think North Korea's role will be to pin down the U.S. forces that are on the Korean Peninsula. General, and I have no idea how to pronounce this guy's name. He must be Polish or something, right? Grinkowicz? Is that how you pronounce it? Alexis Grinkowicz. Shall we go and see how we're supposed to pronounce it? Okay, let's see if Wikipedia can help. Call sign Grinch. Okay, okay. Grinkowicz. That must be how you pronounce it, right? Grin, at least in English. I mean, his native country probably, or his ancestors' country probably has a different Belarusian descent. Okay, so that must be a Belarusian name. He was immigrated to the United States in his great-grandfather, Ilya Grinkowicz, immigrated to the United States in 1899 from Minsk, then located in the Russian Empire. His father, Gregory Wayne Grinkowicz, was a scientist and inventor. All right, let's go with Grinkowicz. Okay, General Alexis Grinkowicz, now 2 months in post as the head of Allied Command Operations, told the Land Euro Defense Conference in Wiesbaden, Germany, on Thursday that President Trump's announcement earlier this week that new weapons would be rushed to Ukraine was being fulfilled. While he cited security concerns on putting out any specific numbers, General Grinkowicz, a proud American with a proud European heritage, said work is underway. Okay, and he told the forum, we're working very closely, but that's not what I'm interested in. And so here we go. European states like the UK, France, Germany have recently been planning for keeping the peace in a post-war Ukraine-Russia borderland, eyeing the potential for a forthcoming deal. Now, President Trump has announced a 50-day deadline to stop fighting. General Grinkowicz said that while NATO sought a peaceful resolution, nevertheless, Europe and the alliance should be aware Russia would rebuild its strength and continue to pose a threat. That's not what we're interested in, though, is it? Okay. Of evident concern is Russia being later called to pay back the favors done to it by China through the course of the conflict, with international observers noting the flow of weapons and drones components to Russia from China. General Grinkowicz said China could be ready to make his move against Taiwan in 2027 and would call on Russia to support it when it does. Time is of the essence, he said, because the thing Chinese President Xi is probably going to do before he decides to go across the Taiwan Strait is give his friend Putin a call and ask him to help. That, to me, means that both of these things could happen together, but we're going to need every bit of kit and equipment and munitions that we can in order to meet that. In a call against mental siloing, the general said each of these threats that are out there cannot be viewed, in my estimation, as discrete challenges. We've got to think about how all of them are aligning. The remarks reflect pessimistic takes on the prospects for peace from NATO states, including the UK, whose then conservative government warned last year the West faced fighting simultaneous wars against Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea within 5 years. Several other members, including Germany and Poland, are working on war plans, assuming a major European war this decade, while the head of NATO himself, Secretary General Mark Rutte, stated earlier this year, the world we thought we were entering in after Berlin Wall came down is definitely gone. Okay. So what about my idea of China and Russia going to war? That would solve some problems, wouldn't it? Here they're saying that we would have to face combined wars against China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, all those together. And certainly, if somehow China and Russia, somehow China could be convinced or motivated to invade Russia, that would actually solve a lot of problems. That would solve a lot of problems. But hey, listen, anything can happen. And I know right now it doesn't look like that's at all possible, but we shall see. 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 Especially, we shall see. And it depends, if there is, if fighting stops in Ukraine, the next question will be, how will this affect the sort of political situation in Russia? Because if fighting stops now, I think Putin will be hard pressed to convince his people, and especially a certain segment of his people, that he actually achieved all the strategic objectives that he set out. No. And the communists in Russia are sort of course, behind the curtain right now. They're on the sidelines for sure, but they would welcome a chance for a comeback. They would welcome a chance for a comeback. And they have not been outlawed or anything like that. This Communist Party still exists. And so it could, this was something that we were talking about yesterday, right? This story that I'm convinced was planted by some intelligence agency somewhere. Maybe that intelligence agency is trying to facilitate a war between Russia and China by making up this kind of a story and sort of floating it and sort of putting doubts in the minds of the Russians and of the Chinese also about what exactly is going on. Anyway, let's continue to pray. Let's continue to pray that God's will be done. And we know that God can sort of confuse the ranks of our enemies and so forth. This may be it. Because if, the satanic side is able to all come together, China, Russia, North Korea, and then Iran to boot, then, we'd be in kind of a pickle. Kind of a pickle. Okay. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen. There is spirit world, and we will see. We will see. We will see. But this is why the work that the Second King is doing in Taiwan is so important right now. He's setting conditions for God's will to be done in East Asia and centering on East Asia throughout the world. And I believe that a miracle is possible. It's definitely possible. And we just need to support the King's effort for this reason as well. Okay, so in any way that we can. All right, so that's what is going on there. Okay, let's see if there's anything else on Breitbart that we want to see. Okay. U.S. retail sales rebound sharply in June, beating expectations across the board. Well, that's interesting. The left keeps saying, the economy is going to crash, it's going to crash, it's going to crash. Offering fresh evidence that American consumers remain a powerful engine for the economy, even as interest rates remain elevated and inflation continues to ease. And as I mentioned, I think a week or so ago, personal consumption is something like 70%, right, of GDP. And that's just incredible to me. 70% of GDP, the gross domestic product. Let me check that once again, because that's just incredible to me. Let's see here. GDP percent personal consumption. Okay. There we go. Yeah. In 2021, personal consumption expenditures accounted for approximately 68.7% of the United States gross domestic product, according to YCharts. This indicates that consumer spending was a dominant driver of the overall economic output in that year. I don't think it's just that year. Well, while the exact percentage can fluctuate, the general trend shows that PCE, that stands for personal consumption expenditures, consistently represents a large portion of the GDP. Okay. So in 2021, it was 68.7%. That's just incredible to me. Not financial services, not manufacturing, not agriculture or fishing, but personal. So what are we doing? Are we just couch potatoes, sitting, on the couch and munching our Cheetos and watching TV? To me, that's just 68% personal consumption. That's just incredible to me. Anyway, retail sales rose. Okay. Somehow that seems to be that's not a healthy thing for the American economy. But anyway, the Commerce Department reported Thursday that retail sales rose 0.6% in June from the prior month, far surpassing economists' expectations of just 0.1% gain. Sales excluding motor vehicles climbed 0.5%, while the so-called control group of retail sales, which strips out food service, auto building materials, and gasoline, also rose 0.5%, pointing to robust underlying demand. The report showed a broad-based strength, with 10 of 13 major retail categories posting monthly gains, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Food services rose 6.6. Yeah, I see people are eating more. All right. And non-store retail sales are up 4.5%. I guess that's online stuff, huh? Okay. All right. With the job market still tight and inflation showing no signs of tariff pressure, the report adds to growing evidence that the U.S. economy remains resilient heading into the second half of the year. All right, well, hope they keep it up. Okay. And so here, General Motors aims to help America lead in global race for EV battery manufacturing. Okay. And Minnesota autism clinics under investigation for millions in Medicaid fraud. Yeah, and he's been diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency. Venous insufficiency. Okay. Yeah, okay. Now, presidents tend to have problems with their legs. Remember, Nixon had a what was it called? Was it Reagan or Nixon? I think it was Nixon, right? Had something in his vein. Was that Reagan? Anyway, no, I think it was Nixon. Had some kind of a blood clot in the either the artery or vein in his leg. Yeah. All right, let's see. Trump's popularity grows. The Republicans amid Epstein uproar. Okay, this is Breitbart, okay? So take that with a grain of salt. Scarborough, why didn't Democrats call for Epstein files to be released during Biden presidency? Good question. It's, the answer, of course, it's all about power, all the time, all power, all the time. All right. And $9 billion in cuts passed the Senate. Global aid, public broadcasting. Yes, and public broadcasting is now going to be cut. They're going to be cut. And they're saying that this is, if they cut their budget, this is going to represent a public safety danger. Okay. All right, let's go to Newsmax. Oh my goodness. They come up with all sorts of, like we were saying yesterday, right? The most on Wednesday, actually, the most valuable thing that God possesses is human creativity. But I made the point that we use that creativity for the most part to justify our own sin. All right, let's see here. House votes 2016 to 213 to approve Trump cuts to public broadcasting and foreign aid. Let's look at the full story on this. The House gave final approval. The vote marked the first time in decades that a president has successfully submitted such rescissions request to Congress. In other words, rescissions is when the budget is passed, right? The budget is passed, but then the president cannot veto line items in any law, including the budget. You cannot go through and say, I don't like this, I don't like that. He has to either veto or sign or allow to come into law without his signature any bill. One of those three. Okay. But what he can do is that he can go back to Congress and says, listen, you sent me a budget and I signed it. But, and in this case, he didn't sign the budget. It was Biden that signed the budget last year. But there's stuff there that I don't like. So I want you to go through and I want you to take out A, B, C, D, E. And as it says, that theoretically is possible, but it's almost never happens. So this was the first time in decades that a president has successfully submitted such a rescissions request to Congress, and White House suggested it won't be the last. Some Republicans who indicated they were uncomfortable with the cuts yet supported them anyway. The House passed the bill by a vote of 2016 to 213, and now goes to Trump for his signature. And apparently there's going to be a signing ceremony at 2:30 today in the White House for that bill. We need to get back to physical sanity, and this is an important step, said House Speaker Mike Johnson, Republican of Louisiana. No Democrats supported the measure when it passed the Senate 51-48. In the early morning hours Thursday, final passage in the House was delayed for several hours as Republicans wrestled with their response to Democrats' push for a vote on the release of Jeffrey Epstein files. The package cancels about $1.1 billion for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and nearly $8 billion for a variety of foreign aid programs, many designed to help countries where drought, disease, and political unrest endure. Who wrote this story? Associated Press. See there? Yeah, that sounded like the leftist was creeping into Newsmax here. Okay. And Democrats were unsuccessful in restoring the funding in the Senate, and so forth and so on. Okay, so AP is going to focus on, the hardship cases, all right, and not the providing condoms to one country and, doing all sorts of crazy things for leftist darlings in various places. All right, tell you what, let's do this story. So, South Korea is getting ready to hand out money. Well, actually, it's not South Korea. It's the government of Seoul to residents of the city. Okay. I was reading about it earlier today, but anyway. So anyway, it's going to be about $105 roughly. Well, depending on the exchange rate, 105, 110, something like that. And so it's not a lot of money, right? To all residents of Seoul, and even some of the foreign residents of Seoul, not all of them, but some. But when I read this, I thought, wow, okay, this is a giant step forward for CBDCs, central bank digital currency. They're calling it a voucher. Okay, we're going to give you a voucher. And there may even be certain stores that accept that voucher. And I don't know if they can, they haven't gotten the money yet, so we don't know what they can actually use it for. Whether there's a expiration date on it, whether they're allowed to save it. We'll have to find out when the money comes out. I'm not getting any. not a resident of Seoul, and two, I don't even qualify. My wife and I are both citizens of another country, both citizens of the United States. My wife also is a naturalized citizen of the United States. And so on those two counts, we don't qualify. But I will be watching the news to see just what's going on, because this looks like a CBDC to me. And I reported earlier that last November, South Korea started a sort of a pilot program, CBDC pilot program. And they're actually going forward with this. And I think the pilot program was supposed to last 2 or 3 months or something like that. And they issued CBDCs to something like 100,000 people and told them, okay, this is what we gave you, and you can spend them here, 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 stuff like that. So this appears to be the next step in my mind. Well, one reason that they're doing this is because they're afraid that the U.S. and President Trump's emphasis on stablecoins, dollar-backed stablecoins, is going to deny them their own financial sovereignty. And that may be, may be true. The dollar-backed stablecoin, I think I explained it once or twice before, but I know in my experience, some people's their just minds just close when you mention the word money or anything. Their mind just shuts off. So I'm going to go through it again. A stablecoin, of course, is a situation where you give someone, a private company, $1, okay, and then they give you a cryptocurrency in return. And the value of that cryptocurrency that they give you is $1. It can fluctuate a little bit. It can maybe 99.1 cent, 100.2345, but it's in a pretty narrow range. It's pretty close to being one-to-one correspondence with the dollar. And then, what do you want to do with that? Well, inside the United States, you may not realize the use case immediately, but outside the United States, the use case is pretty obvious. Because when you move money from one country to another, there are a lot of, questions to answer, forms to fill out, fees to pay, that kind of stuff. Whereas with a stablecoin, you can go free and very quickly, and with cash, try wiring something Friday afternoon. Okay, if you try wiring it after 2 o'clock, I think it is. I think their deadline in my bank is 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. Eastern. No, 2 p.m. Pacific, is it? It might be Pacific. Okay. Then it's not going to go out until Monday. And then once it goes out, you get an email saying, okay, the money will be available in a week to 10 days. Well, in actual fact, I've never had to wait that long. But wiring money from one country to another is basically, this is, I don't know, really 20th century stuff. This is not 21st century stuff, all right? Stable coins will reduce that time to seconds. I can pay someone in another country in seconds without having to report it to anyone. Without the OFAC. Have you ever heard of OFAC? OFAC? It's a bureau within the U.S. Department of Treasury. It stands for Office of Foreign Asset Control. And every international transaction that takes place using dollars has to be approved by OFAC. And of course, they do it with AI and computers and stuff like that. But yeah, they watch all these international transactions. But with stablecoins, you bypass that as well. So now the United States has passed the Genius Act, and the S in that stands for stablecoin. I don't know what the other letters stand for, but anyway, the S stands for stablecoins. And so now the U.S. is saying, okay, listen, we're going to give these stablecoins actual legal status in the United States with conditions. And we'll see how that actually works. And maybe now OFAC will be able to have more control over the transactions. I don't know. But countries around the world are concerned now because now, why should anyone use their own currency? Even for domestic payments within Korea, let's say, or within Japan, or within Zimbabwe, or wherever. Their currency is degrading or being debased faster than the US currency. And the US currency, of course, is also going down in value. We know that. But it is what they call the cleanest shirt in the hamper. You know, when you run out of shirts to wear, you haven't done a wash, and you're too busy to do a wash right now. So you go to the hamper where all your dirty shirts are, and you go through them, you smell them, and you take out the cleanest one, and you put that on, right? So that's what the dollar is. It's the cleanest shirt in the hamper. It's dirty, but it's the least dirty of the currencies worldwide. And so people, when they save money, for example, they'd rather save their money in dollars. And in South Korea, that's not an easy thing to do. There are regulations and all. And where are you going to get dollars, right? You go down to the bank and ask for dollars. They're going to start asking all sorts of questions. And there's sort of a limit on how much you can convert to dollars in any given year. But buying stablecoins, no questions asked. No questions asked. So this is obviously being done, and President Trump has said that this is being done so as to preserve the dominance of the US dollar worldwide. And it may go beyond that. It may actually reverse de-dollarization to dollarization, because people around the world will look at it and say, "What? Listen, you know, I'm in Zimbabwe where inflation is like gazillion percent. I sure want to buy some stable coins so as to preserve my purchasing power." You know, and some people call it the last hurrah of the fiat world, of fiat currencies. That may be true, because stable coins also, I mean, the dollar-based stable coin is going to be degrading at the same pace as the US dollar. So as the US dollar loses value, dollar-backed stable coins will be losing value at the same pace. So people may want to switch to something else eventually that will do a better job of preserving their purchasing power. And I'm sure they would be doing your own homework on that, doing your own research, DYOR-ing on that. Do your own research on that. All right, so South Korea, though, issuing these vouchers, which look to me like central bank digital currency, trying to resist that dollar dominance. And because there have been articles in the papers here about the possibility that Korea's financial sovereignty, economic sovereignty, will be degraded by the prominence of dollar-backed stablecoins in the future, and pretty near future. Actually, it's going to happen in a few months. So we'll have to see. Yes, we'll have to see, and especially, you know, with President Trump coming down on BRICS, he's saying he's going to charge BRICS nations an extra tariff for threatening the dollar. So he's really standing up for the dollar, although he is pushing down the value of the dollar for some reason. But obviously not for some reason. I mean, it's obviously why he's doing it. He's doing it so that the price of imports will go up, and so that will be an extra tariff on goods coming in from overseas. Okay. All right, so that's about it for today. And I'll be here again tomorrow, Saturday. So we will see what transpires in the next 23 hours. And especially, I will be following the news that we see on Hak Ja Han. Again, Hak Ja Han's situation for father is tremendously heartbreaking. Okay, he's not happy about it. He's very sad. He's very sad indeed. But she will have to pay. She will have to face the consequences of her actions. All right. God bless. Godspeed. May His kingdom